let us hold fast to our faith without wavering. All of these verses that we have been, we've tried to say, it's all because people are being fooled. People are being trained, if we may use the word, trained to cover your noses, your faces, because if you don't cover it, somebody's going to be infected. And so, again, we're not talking about the world. We're talking about Christians. We're talking about believers. We're talking about those who say they are Christians. If pastors are covering their noses, then what is happening? I already know. I've heard pastors, leaders, elders, they are covering their faces to go about places because, if I don't cover it, the police will catch me. If I don't do it, I'm going to be arrested. If I don't do it, I won't be able to go and buy bread. I won't be able to go and buy water. I won't be able to, to buy food. I won't be able to go to the bank. That's what the bank says. All of the places, you have to put it on. And even in elevators also, elevators where you have, how many people? 10, 12 people. They say only 2 people should be in the elevator, all because of fear. And it's even marked. When you get into the elevator, you have a sign there, stay there, stay here. So you cannot be together. In the conference rooms, if a conference room takes 12 people, only 4 people are supposed to be there, or 6, because they are afraid. When are Christians going to rise and pray and commit this into God's hands and say, Lord, this is what they are saying. We trust you. We believe in you. For that reason, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Daniel, we will not compromise. Whether we believe it or whether we are afraid or so many things. If we cannot stand now, when are we going to stand? When are we going to say, the Antichrist, because of the Antichrist? I can understand. Some of us work in places where you receive customers, you receive guests, you receive people. And what are you going to do? You say, because it's required, you have to cover. You have to do this and speak all the time. We need to ask God to help us. So, let's see some of these scriptures. Because we know what the scriptures say, we know what the Lord Jesus Christ says. And if we trust God, if we believe God, we are going to act appropriately. And if we are bold enough, because if pastors are already, doing this and leaders, then what's going to happen to the members? It's a shame. May God help us. And God is ready, to forgive us. According to 1 John 1:9. If we confess, if we go before Him, He is faithful and just to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So, all right. 2 Corinthians 3:4 says, and we have such trust through Christ toward God. Right? And then Hebrews 4:16 says, let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Right? What else? Oh, well, what we're talking about is, temptations and things that go on. Well, we can skip that. Daniel and his brethren, Daniel 1, from verse 5 to verse 14, about the food when they were asked to eat the king's meal. The purpose in their heart, they determined in their heart that they were not going to do it. And that's why we read about them today. They even changed their names to idol names. And it's unfortunate that some Christians, some pastors, don't realize that the Israelites were given the four Hebrew children rather, were given idol names. Idol, which is against God. And what happened? Many of them, so much that they don't even remember, they don't even know, or should I say, the Christian, the pastors, don't identify their original names, and they give them those idol names, and those names are even common than their original names. And well, I think there's so much that maybe we'll do that another time, but they were given idol names, names that uplifted their idols. That is King Nebuchadnezzar. He gave them names that identified them as idols. And what happened? The preachers used their Babylonian names, their idol names. And we have to be careful about names. If Christians, if the Israelites had godly names, and the king gave them idol names, and then we are going about using those names, and I'm not going to use their names, but for the purpose of identifying what they are. Daniel, what was his name? We all know his name is Daniel, right? But, and it's sad. It's sad. So, his name is to praise God. But what happened? The names all right, I'll just look for the name and give you what it says. The Nebuchadnezzar name is identified as an idol, and when that name is mentioned, it is uplifting the idol. And so when we also identify with those names that Israelites were given, we have to be careful that we don't use those names, because those names they are not good. So it is what we call brainwashing. And so I have it here. Let me just look for it. Daniel. And then it says, brainwashing. So Daniel says, God is my judge. But the king said, No, you don't. I won't call you Daniel. I'll call you. Uh, I'll call it Belshazzar, which means Bel, my idol, will protect. Daniel's name, God is my judge. The king says, "Oh no, I'll give you an idol name. The idol will be my idol will protect. Bel will protect." Then Hananiah, his name is God is gracious. And what was the Babylonian idol name? Oh, you are going to be called Inspiration of the Sun. Inspiration of the Sun. Michelle, God is without equal. What was the new name given to him? Meshach. Belonging to who? Aku. Belonging to idol. And Azariah, the Lord is my helper. What name was he given? And people say the name fluently, Abednego, which means servant of Nego. So, servant of idols. All of these are to brainwash them, to teach them that, oh, do what you are being told. Programming, subliminal ways. So, let's continue.